Okay, Mikey, you're on with us next, mate. How are you feeling about that 4-0 win?
Well, I have to say that was our best attacking display I think I've seen since that first 10 game of the season stretch before we hit Chelsea. I think that was outstanding. It was a 10 out of 10 performance. I really couldn't have asked for anything better apart from I would say that if there was one criticism, it was the passing around the back. Bissouma especially giving it away in that memorable incident, a couple of wayward passes. But in second half, I mean, I don't know what Ange is putting into them in the second half, but a few years down the line, I hope we don't get like a doping allegation, because this is genuinely insane. The amount of first versus second halves we've seen it's been weirdly consistent recently, how we're not performing up to par in the first half and then obliterate our opposition in the second.
So, Mikey, we discussed earlier how many players there were who could have been man of the match today. Who really impressed you? Who kind of stood out?
I think for me, it was Christian Romero. I think he definitely stood out to me. And, obviously we scored 4 goals, but to me, in any game, you can score 7 goals, but if you concede 1, that's a problem. And I've always kind of been not a defense first guy. I'm not like Conte, who's defense first, but I value a clean sheet above a high scoreline. I value a 1-0 win rather than a 5-1 win, because the clean sheet is so important. And I think that's our first in the league since Nottingham Forest in December, almost 4 months ago. And even since Burnley in the FA Cup at the beginning of January, so 2 months ago, was our last clean sheet. And I think that's a massive statement. And Christian Romero was an integral part of that. Even when Dragutin came on and, they've not played with each other together for a long time, Romero kind of just showed Dragutin what he has to do, how to do it. Every time he was stepping in, intercepting everything, heading everything, blocked everything. And for that, he was immense today. He was one of the best performers, and Destiny Udogie as well.
Yeah, Destiny's power on the ball and his decision making as well, actually, in terms of when to run
and when to stay,
and when to stay is getting better and better. Really impressed with him. What about Sonny? We haven't really talked about Sonny a lot today, just because it's almost like it's expected that he's going to score a goal when he gets a chance. But he also had 2 assists. And are we seeing that argument of him or Richarlison in the 9 being put to bed in front of our very eyes, Mikey?
The thing is, obviously they offer something extremely different. Sonny out on the wing, there's a couple of times, I think you saw today, he is still immensely quick, right? Let's not take away from how fast he is, because he is, and he's still an incredibly fast player. But he's not as fast as he was 2-3 years ago. I remember the Burnley goal he scored 4 or 5 years ago when he literally outpaced everyone. There were a couple of times today when he's going up against an Ezri Konsa, who's not a slow defender, but even running around the outside is in his 30s now, it's starting to wane just a touch. He's not as breakneck quick as he used to be. And I think him in the 9 is a better option than out wide, where we've got a player like Johnson and Werner particularly, who have probably more pace than he does at this current moment. So I think him in the 9 is a better option. But there were a couple of times today when we threw crosses in, and I'm like, Richarlison would have headed those in. So it's a healthy debate to have, because you can have both of them. Richarlison's got a different set of skills to Heung-min Son, but definitely if there's an argument for them both to start, I think obviously it's Heung-min Son starts up top. But if you're looking for a game where you're going to be kind of going up against the lower block and kind of set pieces and crosses rather than an Aston Villa who are going to come out, you're looking at maybe a Richarlison as a better option. So I'm not there's different ways of thinking about it for different systems.
Totally.
Mikey, a huge call from Ange today to drop Werner after he scored his first goal and put Johnson in on the left. What did you think of his performance and Ange's decision?
I wasn't as surprised as a lot of people were by that. I was at the Palace game last week, and Werner was good. Don't get me wrong, he did score. But I think Johnson came on and absolutely changed the game. He got the assist. I think he was running in behind constantly. He was getting assists and stuff when we were 1-0 down. And I think he came on when we were 1-0 down, and we ended up winning 3-1. And I don't think that is a coincidence. I think Johnson deserved to start today. I think the problem is that Werner and Johnson could start together, but Kulusevski's work off the ball is so important to us. And that's on the ball, I think Werner and Johnson in an attacking sense are probably better than Kulusevski, but off the ball, you can't underestimate Kulusevski's his physicality and his tenacity. I mean, he won the ball for the second goal. He dispossessed and which allowed Brennan himself to score. So I wasn't surprised to see Timo drop for Brennan, but I do think Kulusevski is always a starter whenever, because we need a player like that.
I think Kulusevski is one of those players who a lot of fans, and we were talking a little bit about this earlier, fans who kind of think it's all about assists and goals. They think if he's not doing that, then he's not making an important, having an important role within the team. Yeah. But actually, I read, and it's true, he was involved in all 4 goals today, Kulusevski. And people were slagging him at half-time. And actually, in terms of his ability to keep the ball under pressure, use that kind of strength he's got with back to goal and bring other people into it. Now, sure, is he scoring as many goals cutting in on his left as he was when he joined Spurs? No, but that's because defenders know now that is his go-to. So now he's having to affect the game in different ways, and I was very impressed with him. Just want to say before we go on, Mikey, that we've got a super chat from Mori who says Son-tastic. So that's probably based on what we were talking about with Son earlier on. Pedro Porro came back in today, Mikey. I thought he was outstanding.
I thought he was good. He's, again, I think I saw in the first half, he had actually switched with Destiny Udogie for a few minutes. He was playing on the left and Destiny was on the right. And obviously, it's Yuri Tielemans on the left and Leon Bailey was playing on the right, who, Tielemans is a great player, but he's not a winger. Bailey is a much more kind of pacey winger. And Destiny likes to push forward even more than Pedro. Pedro Porro sits in the midfield role and Destiny just runs and runs and runs. And I think his defensive ability, it's almost like it's a 3-back at times, with Mickey van der Ven covering the left side, Romero covering the middle, and then Porro covering the right. He was instrumental, again, in last-ditch tackles and keeping particularly their fast wingers away from our goal. And, it just looked like he hadn't missed the game. And I think, obviously, there are other areas that need improving in the squad, but I think an able backup for Pedro Porro, who's not named Emerson Royale, needs to be on the cards, because sometimes you just see the drop-off. Emerson is a great utility player, but you see the drop-off when he's not playing down that right-hand side. And you saw with Matasar's cross how crucial it is that we get crosses in from that right-hand side. And he is one of the players that can do that. Emerson, not so much. He's not got the same passing ability. And I think Pedro Porro is, again, the whole team really today was outstanding. I can't pick a bad performer. I can't pick a bad performer who performed below an 8 out of 10. And I was very, very impressed with, apart from that one, Yves Bissouma as well. I think he looked very composed apart from that one sloppy moment in the first half.